there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. We'll get back to this in just a second, but I'm glad I pulled this inside because last night at 9:30 is when I brought it in, and because they said there was going to be some strong storms coming through. There's not a real big branch on the ground, but you know, it's a branch. But then we had another bigger branch go down over here. Check this guy out on the other side. It looks like a bush there from looking at the small screen here. It just looks like a bush. But it was pouring down rain. My gosh, I mean, it was coming down in sheets. So I'm trying to figure out where this is a good sized limb. Nice thing is I got big mow. Oh no, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. That's a widowmaker and a half. That tree just split right there at that Y. Huh. I don't think I have much choice but to take this tree the rest of the way down, because I can't cut that down. That would be so dangerous. Right now it's going to be pretty dangerous just to finish falling that tree. We won't walk underneath that, but that's going to have to be a next project. Whew. That is, everything just got saturated, and I couldn't imagine what the gully wash looked like out here while it was coming down. Let's just look at some of my dirt work I had back here. We'll get back to what's in the shop. Oh my goodness, that turned into a little pond. That was just dried up too, by golly. And I was just thinking, oh, it's dried up, but I'd spent my time working on my, this is going to be a soupy thing to walk through. Oh yeah, that's greasy. Oh yeah, that's greasy. Whew. But it's kind of cool, the storm came through. Just wanted to show you guys, this worked out really well. I couldn't ask, oop, lost the top out of that tree. That's a tree that's hanging upside down right there. Oh, wow. Well, that was filling up with water. And if that little dirt clod wouldn't have fell in there, I'm trying to walk gingerly here like I'm walking on an ice-covered road, because this mud gets pretty greasy. I'm in amazement of how much, let's just say, washing happened. And how lack of washing happened. So I'm highly encouraged with what I see here. You know, with this being flat and not holding any water, I'm excited to get down to the pond where I dug out the dam and to see how much water is actually flowing through there, because we got a lot of water through here. Just walking up to, I dug a ditch at about grade, and looks like that caved in a little bit. It's caused it to hold some water. Otherwise, a lot of it ran out pretty good. I can't be mad at that. Okay. I'm just trying to assess how much work I got to do before I can get back to the regularly scheduled program. Oh, you can see it better from this side. Holy smokes. Yeah, I gotta let the boss know not to walk out underneath that. Can you guys see that? Right there. Big ol'. Now, that might not look like that big a limb, but I'll guarantee you that's roughly, I bet you, golly, if that ain't 10 to 12 inches across, that's a heavy limb, and it's resting on that other limb. And there's no way I'm gonna get up there. Now, if you had a bucket truck or something, you could probably get up there, but that's still a very dangerous situation. I'm honestly gonna be better off notching that tree and just taking her out. I've been taking out some trees, but that wasn't a plan to take that one out. It was more of a plan to take that one out. Oh well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That looks like the extent. Here I am walking almost underneath it, but not really. The boss just mowed yesterday and this morning finished up mowing. I'm just gonna walk back around to the back 40 to make sure nothing fell on any of my other, let's just call it marina type products. One of the boats back here has fallen victim to a tree, but not while it was in my possession. Not saying that it couldn't happen again. Lightning could strike twice. Oh, this looks so good. The scars here are from when I removed trees along here. And they haven't, say it hasn't healed up yet, but it's on its way to healing. But this stuff back here was protected by the wind, from the wind by the trees. But it looks like the rest of the stuff around the perimeter did pretty well. You don't realize how big some of these trees are until you get them on the ground. Then they get really big, really fast. Looks like everything back here stayed put. That's good news. Tell this washed a little bit, but not bad. That's the bad part when you're doing some, let's call it excavation work, and you got heavy rains. It looks like I lost a limb on the other side of the ditch here. Yeah, the little old creeks are flowing. So this is the ditch I dug out to redo the pond here eventually. And it's just to keep the water level down. And when I say it's a ditch through my dam. And just to give it perspective, from there to there is probably close to 9 to 10 feet deep, at least. The green looks so green after a rain. It's so beautiful. Weeds and all. All right, let's get back up to the shop. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. So what are we looking at here, folks? I want you to soak this in. This is a 16-foot 1964 Evinrude. And it doesn't say if it's an Evinrude Sport or S or, you know, the Starflight engine was a 90 horsepower S. And it's a V4 Evinrude, which is that's a hood and a half. I mean, that hood is gigantic. I mean, this is my hand right next to it. It's huge. It's a 90 horse, and it didn't have power trim. It had pin locators for trim, but it is a neat old boat. And the reason I liked it, I saw it online. This is, somebody had caught it in one of my videos. Horn works. I wonder if that horn works. Must not, because they put that one on. It caught my eye when I saw it online because of the shape of it. It just was unique looking. It's not anything that you see out there today. It is a tri-hull, but we're talking deep tri-hull. And keep in mind, this is 1964. Solid, still very solid. It's got a windshield here that opens up like this. Oops, you gotta unlatch. This is just some seriously heavy cast aluminum pieces. Then this window opens, the whole half windshield opens up and flops over to the other side. And then it's got this latch here that latches it down. It's got a railing that runs all the way front to rear, almost, 3/4 of the way of the length of the boat. But check out this walking space here. When you flip that windshield open, this thing is so wide open. Now, some of the articles I was reading, because you can find brochures for these online for sale on eBay, matter of fact, and they talk about it's a 16-foot boat, has more walking around space than your typical 18-foot boat. And it has this gas tank back here. It has a small well back here. The cool part about this boat The whole bottom is fiberglass, sealed up fiberglass. And this had been, up till 2 months ago, kept, I don't know about the previous owner, but I've had this, like I said, at least, I'll leave a thing here on the screen that says how long I've had this boat. But I traded for it a while ago. I got into boats, and then I saw this, and I traded a guy an object for this boat, and was it a good deal? Depends on whether you love what I traded or you love boats more. So I'm not going to tell you what I traded for it. But just check it out. Just soak this in a little bit. You know, it's all original. The seats are original. Looks very much original. Gray seats. The vinyl actually isn't in too bad a shape. These actually, you know, do one of these numbers. There's a folding paddle, an anchor, a rope, all stored underneath there. I haven't looked to see what's underneath there yet. It's got a cover over here that normally is down here covering the controls. It is cable driven. Yes, cable driven to the steering wheel, which people would go, cable, that's terrible. Well, it is and it isn't, because there's no stretch in the cable. If you got those cables pulled tight, there is no play, it's very responsive, but it's got nice big holes for controls to come through, cables to come through. We got options here. Got a big old deep area back here that's the same height as the boat. You know, a lot of these outboards have a cutout that's much lower than the boat itself. And you got, you know, this drops down just a little bit, but the side profile here, we're not talking a lot of height here. She's pretty slim and sleek. So it's, I don't know. I've just been intrigued with it. You can see the cast pillars here, all cast aluminum. Dash is wide open. This is a very wide open floor plan. They were doing open concepts in this boat before open concepts was a popular thing in a house. Now you can see this is probably original vinyl here, peeling away from the wood. Behind this is just looks like trunk spray, like your old 70s muscle car or car trunk, like that splatter spray, but I think it's just raw fiberglass almost, but it's got a coating on it. I mean, everything in this boat is actually in really good shape. Now, what I do need some help with is on top here, you can see some of the cracking. I don't mind the cracking. I think that's just in the gel. It's nothing to do with the integrity of the boat itself, but it's all through here. I wouldn't mind refinishing this. This I think would actually buff. So this one area here, I took my hand. This is just my hand doing that. I think it would buff out really well. And somebody's got a hand painted number on here. I'm not hating on that. There are a couple little scars like right here. The front part is in really good shape here. I got another scar right here. Pretty minor overall. Now, another unique thing about this guy. It's an Evinrude trailer. It's got a tag on it for 2,000 pounds. Evinrude Motors, Milwaukee, Wisconsin trailer. Now, this trailer is a little unique. I mean, that's like, how many inches is that? That's like 6-inch I-beam there easily. I-beam. Not thick, but it's I-beam all the way front to back. Check out how this works. It's a tilt bed. Now you got to imagine after that was hooked to the trailer or to the vehicle, that it would tip the boat back. Then it's got this lever mechanism here that brings it up, and it'll actually come up and latch in here for the fully up. It's stout. It's a little crazy how stout it is. Torsion bar suspension back in '64. I'm pretty sure. Here's another sticker back here. It says Evinrude. So what we have, and in the car world this would mean something. In the boat world, not so much. But a numbers matching boat, motor, and trailer. Does that mean a lot in the boat world? No, not in my opinion. This boat is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. It is not a collector's item, as far as I know. And I'm not a big fan of that trailer at all. It is a roller style trailer. I think we can do better on that. I think we can do better on that. There is, what happened there? I'm looking right over, looking right there. Not sure what's going on there. Why this little piece here, it's pooched out a little bit. Sorry, I ran all over the microphone. But look at these old cleats. Big old chrome covered cleats. Check out the lashing system here. This is a spring-loaded over center type situation, and this spring would normally hold that from popping open, and that's to tie down for back here. Obviously this was a bright red stripe at one time. It's faded all the way out. Get you down here a little lower. But she's a neat old boat. Now the article, it looks like this is adjustable. You can hook this up to multiple different holes. The fenders were curved way back to keep from throwing stuff up into it. And obviously if it threw it forward, it's just past center enough that it'd keep the rocks out from underneath this. But it's just a neat old boat. I like it. Looks like this trailer might have had a platform right here you could walk on. So when that was in the water, you could stand on that and walk to the back of the trailer, possibly. Not sure what other purpose it would serve other than that. It's got a big old crack-a-doodle-doo right there. That's okay, we're not using this trailer. Some people might be going, you have to use the trailer. You have to keep it together. No, I don't. I don't have to. You can see some scarring here through some what I'd call original gel coat type stuff. But what I'd really like to do, I'm tempted and I'm not sure. I want you guys to give me some advice. I'm going to reach out to some people, see if they can give me some advice. If this is a candidate to sand, do a little filler in here and there, and just automotive paint this versus tipping in some brand new gel coat. Is there some advantages to paint over gel coat or gel coat over paint? I don't know, but I think this would be a boat worthy of doing it. Would I do it in a different color? Probably not. I don't mind this old battleship gray look to it. It just looked neat if it was glossy again. I'm not sure how I'd get in here. Looks like I might be able to reach up under, let's see here, up under there on each side to get these emblems off. There's some kind of little clippity doodah. Looks like a handful of screws, a boatload of screws, pun intended. This is neat how they had this. Tie up here where the rope could come down through here and then tie off to a dock possibly. But yeah, you can see this here. That's where I'm just wondering if, do you put a, I'm just really leaning toward paint here. And I also hate an idea of shooting that with some fresh white. And maybe that cream look. I don't mind the cream against that. That's not bad either. Obviously the horn, we'll let go. But yeah, look at the speedo, the old dash cluster. We got speedo, amps, and nothing. You got running lights and anchor lights there. Ignition switch. Now this would be interesting because I read up on this too. This had a push button. Had 3 buttons here that fit underneath this cover. Had forward, neutral, reverse. Something that most of you may or may not know about or know exist is this had on the outdrive gearbox, on the outboard gearbox, it had electric shift. That means there was, and I took that all apart myself. That didn't come this way, but it had a solenoid magnetic thing that you hit that switch and boom, it would engage it in reverse back to neutral, and then before you had to push it back to neutral, it looked like, before you could put it in reverse. Now what somebody had done is switched it to a switch. So forward, reverse. So if you accidentally bypass forward, you go in wide open and you throttle down, or you accidentally bump that into reverse, whammo, gearbox explosion extraordinaire. So that's not an ideal fix for that. It's a good enough fix to get you through, but you don't want any rookie driving your boat that don't accidentally flip that too far. And not accidentally flipping it too far is kind of difficult to control, just for the simple fact that you're on rough water or bumpy and you go to, boom, you're in reverse and you don't want to be. The other thing I read on the article for that push button switch, they said that they had tested that switch. No joke. They had tested that switch for 1 million cycles. It said 1, and then 60, or 1 million cycles. And they put that to an equivalency of lasting 50 years. That was what their article read about that switch. Because I have a feeling when it came out, or when people were concerned about that electric switch being a problem. Now, the other thing I read is those had to have a special oil, because of that solenoid and stuff, a special oil in there to allow that shuttle to go back and forth for forward and reverse, which makes sense. You don't want to have some really heavy oil in there and all of a sudden you go to put it and it won't go into forward or reverse and all that fun stuff. Now, the cool part is, no, there is no cool part. I don't know what I was going to say there. But anyway, that's just a little bit of history on this boat. There again, while I had it, I had to clean out my shed out there. I pulled this out while I was working on my tractor. In February, March, April, March and April, somewhere in that time frame. It's now mid-July. I pulled this outside. I had a tarp over it. The tarp kind of did tarp things. Wasn't as good as a boat cover for sure. And you guys know how I am about covering boats. I like to. It got a little dirty in here. But so I brought it in here. I was going to power wash it out over the weekend, this past weekend, but I got into the organizing and cleaning up my shop pretty heavily, and I didn't quit till I quit doing that. And I wanted enough room to be able to pull this in, and I thought about power washing it out. But then I was looking in at all the trash in it. I'm better off vacuuming this out. And then if I need to clean the carpet, which the carpet isn't in bad shape, there's a thin spot in the carpet right there, and maybe eventually I would replace the carpet. I don't know yet. These sides here, these little gunnels here on the inside, like you saw over here, they're just really thin boards, and they're not rotted, but this is just pulling off of it. A feller could almost put some new screws back in here and this would be solid and recover it. But I also wouldn't mind some fresh wood in there. And maybe we'll look at the wood. It might be okay. It's not crumbly. Mostly on a boat this size or this old, it looks a little darker down there behind that vinyl there. You could have a little rot. But yeah, this is a little soft here. Yeah, this is getting new wood. But my goal is to clean it out. I'll probably even pull the seats out, get it completely bare bones here, and figure out how I want to go with it. Because I'm not looking for this to be a lot of passengers on the boat. It could be a 4-person going out boat type thing. Do I put 4 Millennium B seats in here? Now, one thing I do like about these seats is storage underneath. But they're also vinyl and they're hot and sweaty. But if you're out in a boat like this, there's a good chance you're going to be in the water swimming to cool off. So I don't know. leave your suggestions down below in the comments. I'd love your feedback. And if you guys know anything about, you know, painting one of these. Now the Cobalt I have, if you follow this channel for a minute, I have a 1973 Cobalt that's red and white, and the red on that boat has been painted with automotive grade paint. The guy I bought it from does some body work, does a little classic car stuff, and he painted that red on that all white boat, and it certainly did class it up. This is already a two-tone that I like the split, and I like what's going on here. Now you can see back here in this area that this is two pieces, bottom fiberglass, top fiberglass, and that's what these things are put on there to cover the seam. Is there adhesive between here? I have no idea. I'm not planning on splitting it because there's really no need to. Okay, this motor, am I gonna make it run? I want to. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do after I get this all cleaned up, and before I do anything crazy to the wiring here, I want to tip it up, because when I got this boat X amount of years ago, it did run. The guy did start it in the driveway for me, and he let it run for like 30 seconds. And there again, novice boat owner as he was, and I was fairly new to the boat world, but I knew you didn't do that. I knew you didn't start those up without having muffs to it. He goes, I said, shut it off, shut it off. Well, so that's what prompted me to take the other thing he told me about the boat. He goes, I don't know why this thing, I can't get it to go over 20 miles an hour. I can barely try to pull a tube or a skier. And this thing should have ample power to do that. Well, the problem was I looked at the prop. The prop was beat almost flat. Almost didn't have any pitch left to it on all three blades. So I bought new props, and then I took the gearbox apart and realized it's electric shift. And the more I thought about it, the more I did not want to mess with the electric shift. So it's been apart ever since. And I got, there again, these old two-strokes, these consume, now back in the day, in 1964, the articles read that this is a very efficient, most efficient two-stroke that you could buy at the time. It was state-of-the-art. The S for the 90S of the Starflight, one article said, stood for spicy. So it meant it was actually, you know, fairly powerful motor for the day, for an outboard. But compared to something made in the 80s, 90s, see where I'm going with this? I think I want to repower this with something a little more up to date, but let's not get too new. Don't want to spoil what I've been doing around here with a lot of old stuff. I mean, the newest boat I own, I believe, is a 93. That's almost getting too new, but I have to admit it is pretty nice having that tracker. Everything else I got is from the 70s. I'd have to think back through the list of stuff I got, but I think most everything is from the 70s, and I don't mind it. All right, and the other reason I like this one, it caught my eye, is it was in 64. And that was the same year I was built. So I kind of had I know exactly how old this boat is. So it's 59 years old. And I don't know if it does, I don't know if boats do like cars do, where if it's a 64, it came out in late 65. I don't know. Or late 63, and this is a 64. I don't know enough about boat history, but you know, when the new models come out. But let's just say it's 59 years old, and the fiberglass in its condition has held up pretty well. And just like most boats, the boat doesn't usually wear out. And that's why when they claim that this shifter would last 50 years, it's because they don't expect people to be out more than, let's just call it honestly, 40 to 50 hours a year tops. Over 10 years would be 500 hours. I don't know. I don't know how they did their calculations, but I just know boats typically don't have a lot of hours on the engines. Anywho, all right, enough introduction. We're going to get into some speed lapse timing, and I'm going to vacuum this out. I'm going to wipe some things off and do some more research, and we'll pull I got enough room to pull this ahead just a touch. My goal, honestly, is to dry dock this in the shop, And I'm pretty sure I can do that in here and still pull that outboard. Sorry, you guys, I don't have a camera person. I'm walking away from it. I apologize for that. I want to be able to dry dock this in here, do all the work I want to do in here, put another trailer underneath it that's a little more conducive. Tows, this doesn't tow bad, but tows better, can launch better, can do better things for me. Get my trailer hitch a little further away than 2 feet from the water. And then this thing might float pretty easy anyway. But then give me room to play around with that motor. You see if it'll run and pop. Know what I got for a power head. Check compression on it for giggles. And then pull that whole... We're going to repower this thing with something different. But we're going to pull this one off. And go from there. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And let's continue on this journey. If you haven't already thought about it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Much appreciated. I'm looking forward to your comments on this one before I get it heading in too much down a serious direction here as to what I should do with this. There again, I don't sell many boats, and my wife doesn't care for that. She would like for me to get rid of more than I have. So, alrighty, let's get into making it so I can crawl in there and not feel like I'm going to come down with some kind of dirt disease. Well, let's see if we can get this thing a little bit better than she is. That feels a lot better, just having that, all the trash out of it. Now we can get down to some serious brass tacks. All right, folks, ever since I'm back in the back of this boat out, the 64 Evinrude, as you've been watching, I've been debating how and what to do next. And I've been thinking about it for well over a week, honestly, because the next steps, I don't want to say I want to be careful. I'm not worried about offending people. I'm not worried about my viewers not liking what I'm doing. If you don't like what I'm doing, it's very easy. There's the off button or the change the channel button. But I highly encourage you to stay, because we always learn something together. And one of the things I've been debating about is this, you know, power of this boat, the repowering it, because this old 1964 Evinrude 90 horse V4, you know, it's got some zip ties holding some plug wires in place. That was from the previous guy. He said he had problems with this, that, and the other thing. It's got a timing belt. It's on the distributor. It's just a whole, I don't know, the gearbox, I talked about that earlier, I think, in the video. It's been a while since I started talking about this stuff. So I just wanted to know, not no. I just been debating how and what I wanted to do with the power plant on this particular boat. Love the boat. Love the stylings of the boat from 1964. It's a neat old craft. It still will float. The hull is still in fantastic shape. And it's been eating me up as to what to do next. So I've thought long and hard about it. It flew in my mouth. And this was a free boat. I want to say that to start with. But it's this Alumacraft Trophy 170. Aluminum boat. Riveted boat from like 1983, I believe is what this year is. It's got a Shorelander trailer. And the folks I got this from, this guy's name was Andy. And his girlfriend is one of the people I work with. And she connected me up with Andy and says, you know, he's got a boat he'd like to donate. And I'm like, I can appreciate that. And it was his dad's boat. Well, and that's where I want to be very careful and sensitive. And I don't want to destroy someone's memory of that boat. But I've been rolling this around in my head for a while. So if you saw in other older videos of mine, this particular boat, like I said, it's an 83. And I want to show you something about it that happened. So this fella that had it, he had stored it out in the woods because he has other boats as well. What kind of orange dusty thing is that? No idea. Looks like it might kill me. This happened. So this is a pretty good whammo in the boat right here. It goes from, it's probably affects about a 3-foot area here total. Now, would this hurt the boat for how it floats and goes? No. It's just cosmetic damage. This still a very sealed up aluminum boat. It just has a gunnel that has been crushed a little bit. A tree fell on it. And it fell hard enough that it actually drove the boat down into the fender here and dented the fender up. So it took a pretty good whack there. But this is also a very strong part of the boat here because it's got the corner rib, the reverse chine, all that strong riveted stuff together. That part doesn't scare me. That's just going to be what it's going to be. But the other part of it, let me just walk around here and uncover some more of this beast. And like I said, this was his dad's boat, so he had some fond memories about this boat. And he wanted to donate it to somebody that could do something with it, possibly bring it back around. Well, I've analyzed this boat and thought about it for a year. Honestly, it's been a year at least. And trying to figure out, what do I want to do? Now, you can see it did do damage over there. There's a soft spot. You can't see it very well on the camera, but there's a soft spot in the floor. All the entire floor in this boat is rotten. Now, the advantage you have over a rotted floor in an aluminum boat versus a fiberglass boat is these don't have wood stringers typically. I don't know about this one. We'll find out eventually. But it does have a lot of rot. So basically, in the dash, you know, this is all, it's a plywood, it's delaminating, it's coming apart here and there. So it needs a full interior. Now, the aluminum pieces over here, like this area here, that's just like my 76 Starcraft. Those are all, you know, salvageable. And you can recover. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this cover the rest of the way off here while we're talking. And the other thing is, a lot of this is not rotted so much so, but it is. I mean, the wood is not fantastic. I'm sorry, you probably can't hear me. The wood is not fantastic. The combing pads are coming apart. Those can be redone. I did that on my 76 Starcraft. We got got water stuck up in here. Oh, we got a trolling motor. Forget what brand it is. So we can get this unwrapped here. And it's kind of cool because it has an arrow on top. It's a Mercury It's a Mercury trolling motor. Well, that's interesting. And it's got a foot control on it, and there's the pedal underneath there. The rubber on this seems to be in pretty good shape. The cordage on it seems to be in pretty good shape. Went off to, I don't know how well it moves back and forth and stuff, but this was an actual, you know, fishing boat. It's like what they call fishing skis today. What's under here? So under here we had some fenders, and I'm not sure what that was. It looks like some more storage there, a lock box there that we were just in. I swore it had a live well. I'm not seeing a live well. I was thinking it had a live well. My tracker does, but I thought this did too. Unless I'm misseeing something here. This is plastic lined. It's got aluminum lid here. I'm gonna plant you guys on the other side so I can, or over here so I can. So this has a plastic liner in here, an aluminum surface, so that almost acts like that might have had a live well in it. Because it does have, yeah, I think it was a live well there. And the reason I say that, yeah, this is just storage. And it's all aluminum. Everything else is aluminum that's not wood, which is great, right? So I do have a sneaky suspicion that this right here below us here was a live well, or is. And I say that because looks like we have an inlet outlet thing here for water. But yeah, where the windshield's mounted, all this wood is delaminating. And ever since I got the boat here to my house, I've kept it underneath a cover. So all this rot was from it sitting out in the woods. All the rot and wood in there is rotted. It's got an old AM/FM stereo. The glass is in decent shape. And as you see, I put my foam around it here to protect my cover. It's got a Quicksilver throttle control. But this leads me to this guy right here. It's a 90 horse Mercury. I believe it to be a 3-cylinder. We got to pull the cover off and take a look. I did put a battery on the boat just 2 days ago. Oh, and see in there it had rod holders that were back in there. So it was a nice fishing setup at one time. It's just too bad the weather got a hold of it the way it did. And there you can see the battery sitting at a crooked angle there. That's because the floor is rotted in the middle, and that's where that's the floor. Now I did find out that the trim that's right here works. Trim works really well. And even these, I'm not sure how those work. I haven't looked at them very close. It's got some bumpers here. It's got some, I'm not sure how these work. This is the first boat I've had that had these on it. They're like shock absorbers. And they kind of, I don't know if they lock into this, but I don't know how they could. There's nothing there for it to lock into. But I know when you're trimming down and hit that, it slows things down and gives you more slower control, because right now it moves pretty quick. Then when it hits that right there, you can hear it. It's actually having to compress those cylinders. And when you go back up, it also keeps it going slower until it breaks free of those cylinders, and then boom. So maybe those cylinders are bypassing a certain degree, so you have a slower control. Now we have the Alumacraft steering. All the steering is free and working. So, and the keys right here in the switch, I'm gonna turn it on and give it a, the starter bumps, that's good. The only thing that I don't think happened unless they ran it out of gas, is this fuel was still hooked up to here when I started doing this stuff, playing around with it. So I'm gonna bring you guys along with, so I'm gonna admit to what I'm doing here. The trailer's a decent trailer, needs some work. It needs some paint, needs cleaning up. Rollers on it most likely need some work. But what if I turn this into a bunk style trailer instead of a roller trailer? Easy enough to do with a couple of brackets and some carpet. And I turn this Shorelander into the trailer for the Evinrude in there. And yeah, I think that's, and I've already, I did already do a nutsert video on putting nutserts on this trailer all the way around and putting these hooks on it. So I had a place to hook a cover down all the way around the boat trailer. It already has a nice long tongue on it. I put a new coupler and safety chain on it. Wiring and lights would need to be redone for sure. But a little bit of wire wheel, a little bit of paint, some new tires. These have dry rot on them, pretty bad dry rot. New tires, probably wheel bearings. I've never done a trailer that didn't have to do with new wheel bearings on. And so we take the trailer, we take the outboard, we take the controls and the RPMs gauge. This has got nav and anchor lights, got bilge. That don't work. Aerator, so that is a live well. Accessories. So, see where I'm going with this? This thing would look beautiful. And the paint on here is actually in really good shape. This will clean up really nice. It's not that dirty to start with. Everything's here. And the engine turns over if we can make it run. It is a long shaft, which on the Evinrude, that is a long shaft as well. So, do we engine swap? The answer is yes. That's what I'm planning on doing. If this I can get running and working like I want, I will take this entire harness and put it in that boat. The only thing I need to do is take a few measurements. I'm gonna do that right now with you guys. I need to measure to see if that control, where it's at on the current boat and this boat, because it's about the same width. If they fall into the same category, lengthwise. Because I want to have that control reach. I don't want to have it, where's my tape measures? You know, I just organized my shop and I put most of my tape measures on my cutoff saw because that's where I use them the most. And here we go. So this control here, so the width of the boat from this here to the side of the boat roughly is about 32 inches. Then let's see if I can hook this somewhere reliably, kind of, sort of, maybe just right here is good enough. Ugh. So we got 32, and to the center of the controller here roughly is 9 feet. And keep in mind, this is only a 16-foot boat, where this trophy out here, I think it's a 17-foot boat. So they're close. The only difference is this one has a lot more nose in front of it. So here again, we said 32. And yeah, really close. That curvature of this cord should work. Let's hook this onto here. What did I say? 9 feet. There's 7 feet, 8 feet. We're within a foot. And if this, you know, we'll see how much play we got just due to boat design, but I think this would work. And the steering control and stuff, I think I could make it work. Gonna be a little work. We got a fuel gauge there. Where's the fuel tank on this thing? Oh, it's back. Fuel tank's back in here. The other thing I'm gonna do, this has a mixing tank right back here and a mixing unit to do two-stroke stuff. I'm gonna just run pre-mix in it because that's gonna be, there again, you've heard horror stories of people losing their mixer. oil mixer, oil injection, and then they burn up their motor. If you pre-mix, you never have to worry about that, and that's one less thing I got to deal with or be concerned about or worried about. One less tank I got to move over into the other boat. I can just run a pre-mix right into that quick connect, and that's done. Pressurize it like you normally do, and you're ready to roll, because this one actually had a bulb here coming off the tank. And then the boat itself, I'm going to hang on to. I might dry dock it. I might just swap it onto another trailer temporarily, because I still think, just for fun, I want to try to pull that dent out. Now, there's people that said you can't pull that dent out. You're better off just cutting that section out, welding in all new stuff. One guy says, I'm a 30-year employee of Boeing. You know, they build planes and stuff. And he goes, you can't fix that. Love it when somebody tells me I can't do something, because it makes me want to do it more. But I have a plan, and that'll be in a later video of how I could possibly make that happen. So, without further ado, I'm going to clamp you guys right here. Give you a frontal view of this outboard here. And let's take a look at some stuff. These covers are kind of neat. You pop that off. This even has a pull rope in here. No way. I couldn't imagine trying to pull rope. That's what's there. And then we got 3 clamps here, looks like. Take this cover completely off. That's one thing. Oh, it's a 4-cylinder. No way. I thought it might have been a 3-cylinder. I am not very familiar with Mercury 2-strokes. 1, 2, 3. It's a 6-cylinder. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I will admit, I pulled this cover off the other day and just kind of peeked behind the curtain a little bit, and I saw 3 carburetors, and I'm thinking, it's a 3-cylinder? No, it's a tower of power. Yeah. Oh, now, you guys asked me, wouldn't you rather be fishing than working on boats? Well, I've came to the conclusion several years ago that I enjoy working and tinkering as much as I do fishing. So whether I do one or the other, I'm equally as happy. And you know how I know that? Because when I just discovered, I still got them up the back of my neck. When I discovered this is a 6-cylinder, and I've had this for a year, and I just discovered this is a 6-cylinder, I just got chills up my spine. It is freaking awesome. 6-cylinder baby. These sound so badass. And I know I don't use foul language on this channel very often, but that's what it is. Now let's take a look inside here and look at the wiring. Now, Mercury's in the 70s had a problem with wires deteriorating, and these connections all look beautiful. All the wiring is together. It's not falling apart. It's 100% present and accounted for. Look at this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cylinders. And all this looks really good. I ain't kidding you, folks. I think, other than having to pull the carbs off, and on this particular motor, it looks like it'd be a really easy carb job. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this screw out of the bowl here and take a look and see what kind of gas comes out. Upper 2 are easy to get at. The bottom one, not so easy. Part of me just says, pump fuel in it. Let's see if we can get it to bark. That's the part I'm going to listen to. What I am going to do is pull each one of these spark plugs out, though, and take a look at them. My guess is they're that Permagap spark plug. That's one of those plugs that just are flat, and the spark jumps sideways, so it's got all this contacting area. A lot less likely to foul out. I mean, this thing is so clean. So clean. So let's just pull a couple of plugs out. 6-cylinder. Oh man, I am so stoked. Because I know they did a 6-cylinder 90 horse, or 100 and, I think it was 110 or 120 horse. I don't know for a fact, because I'm not a Mercury aficionado, but this 90 horse 6-cylinder is gonna be impressive. Wow. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get me a tank. I'm gonna put that fitting that's on here onto a new tank, a clean tank that I know what fuel's in it. And that should be easy enough to slide in, tighten up, and reconnect. We'll pump it up. We'll see if any of the carbs leak. And actually, before I do that, I am going to pull the spark plugs out because I did roll it over a little bit, but I don't want to roll it over dry. So I'm going to pull these out and I'm going to shoot a little bit of two-stroke fuel and oil mix into the cylinders with the plugs out, roll it over a little bit more, and then stick them back in. Then we'll see what we got. But this is beautiful. Yeah, 3 carbs, 2 per cylinder. Pulls from one, pulls from the other. Bam, 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 bam. Times 3. All right. I'm beyond excited now, boys. Now I was gonna spray some 2-stroke fuel in there, but I decided no, let's do some fogging oil. That would be better on the engine. And then I've got this is my swivel socket. I bought this, I thought that's kind of neat. When would I ever want to use that? Well, that's gonna come in handy for getting down in here in these bottom plugs and this upper plug. We're gonna start off with the easy, second one from the top. And if they ever made one of these that the rubber thing stayed in, I'd be surprised. Maybe the snap-on ones do. Maybe they're over-molded or under-molded. Or yep, Permagap spark plug. Had a little build-up on the surface. Well, we're going to line these up. This is the second from the top. You know what I better not do? I better not mix these up. I'm going to go ahead and put a marking on them. And I don't know if it's top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bottom one, that has a 6 on it. Has a little ring on it that says 6. Do any of these have any markings? So the bottom one is 6, the top one is 1. Oh, if I was looking for inspiration, I found it here today. I'll tell you that. Okay, this is number 2. This is number 3. Number 4. These are coming off real nice and easy too. Number 5. I'm using a paint pen. And obviously the one nearest the top and one nearest the bottom is 1 and 6, so I don't really have to mark those. Ouch, hit my thumb. Now this has got NGK, BUHWs in it. I'm not sure if that's the right plug or not, but they are Permagap, so you know somebody wouldn't have gone to the trouble to put a regular plug in if it had Permagap. Okay, here's number. Yeah, they all have this little black little oil residue on top. There's number 2, no 3. See if I can get up here to number 1 with this. That's going to take a regular wrench to get that one, I think. Honestly, it doesn't matter which cylinders these go back into if they all look the same. That one's actually clean on the surface. This could be an expensive spark plug change, but these Permaspark spark plugs, in my limited experience of using them, and I say limited because I've only been playing around with these outboards since 2017. And believe me, I've learned a lot in that time, but this is the first time messing with these. I'm gonna have to get a regular wrench down here. And that's a old 1316. The other good news is that these were not too tight and they were not too loose. So I think somebody had done the right things by this motor or engine. Some people, when you call a gas burning combustion engine a motor, they get upset. I worry about folks like that because it's like, don't get upset about that. That's not a big deal. Engine, motor. People say motors are electric, engines are fueled by fuel. Ooh. The upper one did not look nearly as pretty. That's top. Not awful, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't fire. They all look pretty good. That top one looked a little bit different than the rest, as you can see there, but not bad. I'm gonna get my bore scope and take a peek inside here before I shoot any oil in there, just to see what some things look like. That piston's all the way at the top. A little carbon on the pistons, but that's to be expected. It's a 2-stroke. A little carbon. I don't think there's nothing here that there's no rust that I can see on the cylinder walls, which is fantastic. Nothing looks what I would call worrisome here. This looks like normal carbon on top of the pistons. The cylinder walls that I can see look fantastic. All right, now I'm gonna do what I should do all along, put my tools away as I use them. We've done a touch of due diligence here by pulling the plugs, checking things out. I think I will see if my local Napa has some plugs for me, and pick those up. But we're gonna hose these cylinders down. Now I take this and wiggle the hose around. Some of them are shallow, some of them are deep. Whoops. Like I said, I couldn't be more stoked at this 6-cylinder. Now that that's in there, I'm gonna roll the motor over, engine, power plant, whatever you want to call it, and circulate some of that oil around in there. I'll do this a couple times. Just see if I can catch some pistons in different places in the stroke. Let's take advantage of gravity here. See if we can see anything come flying out of there, guys. All right, one more time. Definitely catching one at different parts of the stroke, so. And what I'm excited about is being able to take some come on. Bottom one is not as easy. It's like I need another 4 inches of hose here. Now it's going to be very difficult to check the compression on the bottom cylinder. Top cylinder I might be able to get, but we'll find out. But she whips over. I'm going to let that soak for another second or two while I go get my compression tester. Okay, let's spin her one more time, blow out any excess oil. Thing does whip over really nice without plugs in it. Let's start off with the number 2. I might be able to get on number 1, but I don't know. Zero pressure. Wow. 155. That's not bad. I'll just write it down right here. Number 2, 155. Can't be mad at that. That's actually really good compression, guys. I might not be acting as excited as I should be. I don't know if I can get it started up here in this. Oh, let's see. Number 1, I don't want to screw up the threads at number 1, but let's see if I can get this hosed. I did. It's like a flex line. At least we'll know what this one is. Bottom one, not so sure. All right, 0 again. $145 on number 1. Now, for being something, you guys like say, oh, your compression's high because you just sprayed oil in it. Your compression's your compression. After you roll it over a few times, there's not, the cylinder walls will be a little damp with oil. May give you a little more compression, but we're not talking it's going to give you a false positive. At least that's not been my experience. 0 again. Looks like another solid 155 there. Now remember that upper cylinder had a little bit of gunk around the spark plug, but wasn't something where I'm going, that's a dead hole for sure. It was not. 150. And honestly, as long as you're between 10% on all cylinders, between, you know, plus or minus 10% or 10% total. I'm not sure what the exact number is. Whoops, I should have bled that off first. That's okay. You got a good balanced system that's not going to put adverse strain on your crankshaft. All right, number 5. That one's got 160. So we're ranging from 145 to 160. Now 10% of 160 is 16. 160 minus 16 would be 144, and my top cylinder is 145. I'm not mad at that. And I can't. Why did they put a hole right here in the back of this cowling? Let you get a spark plug or a compression test on that back side. It's down this far below the cowling, guys. Like down here, I don't have a 90-degree doohickey. If I had one of these quick connects that had a 90-degree on it, I got one that has a little bit of an angle, but there ain't no way you're getting in there. Well, knowing what we know now, I think we got ourselves a good one here. I'm gonna go put this tool away now. Now I do or don't know if this spark thing will work on this particular, it should. I'm going to clamp this thing onto a ground. And we should see a light jump or a spark jump, or there should be something. Should be a grounded. Yeah, that's grounded. I can see the ground wire hooked to it. So hook that to that clean stainless bolt there. And let's just stick this on. number 1. And I want to see if I can see a spark here. I don't know if I'll be able to. I might have to have the boss come help me. I can't see nothing. Because if we don't have a spark, we're dead in the water. Here come the boss. Here come the boss. I need you to hit the ignition switch like this. And that's it. Just bump it like that so I can see if I can see something here. Again. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm not seeing anything there, guys, but maybe it's just I don't know. Let's grab one of the better looking spark plugs and touch it to the block. And we'll have the boss do that again. Hang on. That looks like a nice plug that's grounded. Okay, boss, hit it. Oh, baby. Yeah, we got spark. One more time. Ow! We got spark. Woohoo! Number 2's alive. And for sure, number 1 is, because that one bit me. Okay, try not to bite me again, hon.
Well, get your fingers back then.
I can't. Do it again. Just bump it again. There we go. I just want to make sure all cylinders are hitting something. Okay, this one I should be safe from getting hit. We'll see. Go, babe. Whoa, we got spark. What do we got left here? 5 and 6. This is a 6-cylinder. Yeah. Isn't that exciting? Okay, bump it. There we go. That thing just starts sparks everywhere. It's awesome. One more time. There we go. Switch it off. Straight up and down. There we go. Okay, folks, we got compression, which is awesome. We got spark. All we need is fuel. And I want to go get some new spark plugs. Hey, boss, can I take you out to lunch and go pick up some spark plugs? Right now? Love it when a plan comes together. So we're going to leave you guys right here, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back here after the lunch break. Pretty sure I left this trimmed up a little taller than it is now, but that's okay. And I did. This was the worst spark plug I had. And I put a little wire wheel action to it just to clean it up a little bit, but the rest of them were just like brand new practically. So I did go to Napa. I do have them ordering me some new plugs. They didn't have any in stock. And it was interesting because this particular plug was no longer available from NGK. They no longer make this plug. So, but Champion, it crossed over to a Champion plug. So I got Champion plugs coming. But I'm pretty sure these will run just fine. These don't look like they've been in there very long at all. Oh, I see the individual coil packs here now. Here's coil pack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it makes sense. The wires are coming out of them. Not an overly complicated setup, honestly. I mean, it looks busy, but once you break it down into its individual components, it's really not that bad. And really no sense in keeping track of which spark plug went in which hole. It's either good or bad at this point. The compression's good. We get fuel to it. The carburetors do the carburetor things, which I don't know if it will or won't. We might have to do some carb work, but I'm going to put gas to it. And we'll see if we can get it to bark off. I tell you, there's nothing sounds nicer than these 6 cylinders. Just have a unique bark to them. And they just sound like they're just, you know, they're down for business. Leave the number spark plug 5 spark plug out and get your whole hand in there and get it started. Will I remember that? Probably not. Oh no. You remember this is only aluminum, so snug is good enough, not too tight. And these have already had their washers collapse, so normally you could feel that washer collapse when you're tightening. So when it gets tight, stop. You're not trying to crush the washer anymore. You're putting in used plugs. That's just, not saying you couldn't helicoil and fix it, but let's not go there. Okay, number top one not marked was number 1. Let's stick it back on. Number 2 marked in yellow. Bam. Number 3 marked in yellow. Bam. These things snap on good. The rubber seems to still be good. I think Mercury got all their bad wiring problems cured in the 80s, maybe, huh? 70s? I went and looked at, tell you a story, I went and looked at a boat, drove over 2 hours away to go look at it. It's a clean looking boat. And it had I'm pretty sure it had a 60 or, no, I think it was a 4-cylinder. I can't remember, was it 60 horse or whatever it was. Anyway. And it was, I was looking at it going, and then I did one of these numbers. Up and down, and the whole transom just like, if you see a transom that has a big piece of aluminum plate bolted to it, check that. Transom's probably rotten. But that wasn't the deal breaker for me. I can replace a transom. When I pulled this cover off on that one and looked under the hood, all these wires, there was actually green, wires were green. So I don't think they use any that 10 coated wires like they should use on outboard stuff, but it was green and all the insulation was gone. And I told him, I said, that's a deal breaker. He goes, really? I said, yeah, that thing's ready. I said, that could short out and catch on fire at any moment. He goes, I just had it on the lake last week. It was running fine. I said, yeah, but it's a problem. I said, knowing this, you don't take that. I wouldn't take this out ever again until you got a whole new wiring harness on it. So I drove all the way there and back for nothing, but, you know, enjoyed the drive, I guess. Well, one last thing I want to do before I attempt to fire it up, and that's I want to check the oil in the gearbox. Now, just like all of them, you can see this was in the mud a little bit here. That's me. But right here, you got your slotted screw here, and another one up here. This one says vent right there. And this is where you drain it here, and you pump it back in through here to fill it up there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crack that loose. And once I got it loose, I'll lower it back down and pull the plug out. I'm just curious to see how much water comes out, if any. And water will always settle to the bottom. Making sure I got all the dirt around from it. We're gonna lower it back down and check it out. Oh, right down here on the ground. Make sure we're not gonna lay in any dog poop. And get you guys a shot of this. I'm just gonna take it out long enough to see if anything comes out. Okay, it's just pure oil coming out. No water. That's good. It actually looks pretty clean. All right, now that we know there's no water, I'm gonna go get the drain pan and we're gonna drain it and fill it up with some of the good stuff. Now make sure you're using one of your better screwdrivers when you're doing a task like this so you don't screw up the screwdriver head on your plug. It's got a magnet on it, which don't look too bad. Mercury, how you doing, buddy? We're gonna have to go throw frisbee with the dog here. We'll go ahead and take this upper plug out. Allow it to, as you see, it picked up the pace there. Allow it to vent. Be curious what kind of oil that had in it. No plug on the, or no magnet on the upper plug. We'll let that drain for a little while. Alrighty, folks, we got all the gear lube drained. And now this one I'm putting in some 90 weight Quicksilver gear lube. Now normally, you guys have always seen me in the past put in 75W90 AMSOIL, but it's very expensive and I'm only planning on leaving this in the engine or in the gearbox for one run on the lake, and then I'll swap it out and put some 75W90 in it next go around. I have several bottles of this 90 weight gear lube, and it's a cheaper way for me to do a run in, make sure things are still okay, and before I put the really good stuff in there. I don't know how much of this is going to take. We start off with a brand new quart here. We'll just don't look like a whole quart came out, so that's a little concerning. But we'll see how much it takes to top it off here. Waiting for it to come out this vent. Something tells me it might have been just a shade low. That's why just checking to see if the water comes out the bottom is not good enough. You're better off draining it and topping it off, especially on something you have no clue of its history. I'll leave a link in the description for this particular device that I'm using here. Don't be afraid to use those links. They'll take you to the product. And even if you don't buy that product, but continue to shop with those links on Amazon, it'll benefit the channel. It'll help me bring you guys more content more often. And your shopping experience will not be changed one bit. There it is. A little air bubbles. It's coming though. There we go. Now we're full on full. That didn't take just over half a quart, so maybe it wasn't that low. That's good news. That's what I'd rather see. You know, when you're working with something old like this, you don't want to discover mysteries and go, oh, that's not good. Well, this one turned out to be okie dokie. Make sure your gasket's still in place. When you put your plug in, make sure that didn't come out and fall on the ground or fall in your pan. Otherwise, she won't seal up like you want it to. Got that tight. Now with your upper plug in, when you back this out, you will not lose but a couple drops because it has a vacuum created because that upper plug is in. It won't drain as fast. So I just opt to do a quick swap out like that. Let's see if I can get her started now. There we go. Now that little bit of oil on my hands, that's all that I lost. Now this one has a little cap to put over this end to keep it from making a mess and for storage, which is nice. We'll go ahead and tighten this plug back up now. There, nice and snug. We'll dispose properly of our old oil. Now you can see in this little pan, that's probably all it was, about a half a quart. So it had the proper amount in it, which is great news. It was just a little brown. It was brown oil. Didn't have any water. Been sitting for over a year, so That's really not milkshake. If it was milkshake, the water would have separated out by now. We're gonna set this down here for now. I'm gonna put my oil away. Don't worry, Evinrude, I'm coming for you, buddy. We'll stick this back on the shelf where it belongs. Throw that away. Nice. Need a rag for my hand. The next steps are very exciting, folks. I'm hoping for positive results, but the advantage I have with this particular outboard, I would say, is that it's new enough and been run more recently. Well, let's just see what the sticker on the boat says. That'll tell the story, won't it? Didn't think about that. The last sticker on the boat was 2016. That's the last time it was due to expire. And in Iowa, they are 3-year licenses that we put on boats, registration you put on boats. They're good for 3 years. So that could have been put on, I'm trying to think where, 2025 is when it expires, 2022, 2019, and then 2016. So it was, so who knows if it was the beginning, 2016 is when it would expire. So who knows if it ran the beginning of 2016 or the end of 2016 between end of 2013. I can't speak. Beginning of 2013 toward the end of 2016 when it was last registered on the water. Now, let me show you what we got going on. All the spark plugs are back in. I do have some fresh half tank of fuel here. This tank is actually a clean tank. It was fairly new a year ago. It's got a great little vent on it. We got our hose, and I think we're just going to pump it up and see if anything comes out of the carburetors. Oh, I got fuel in the bulb. I can feel it. Now let's see if we can fill these carbs up. There, I got fuel coming out somewhere. Where's that leaking? Looks like it might be leaking out of the fuel pump. So, dun dun dun. That means we got fuel all the way up to there. Looks like there's a fuel filter here. That's filled up with fuel. Looks like it goes straight across over here, and there's a line that runs between all 3 carbs. Don't know if I got enough in there. I don't want to over pump it at this moment in time. I hope I had you guys pointing at the right direction. I'm sorry if I didn't. Now I'm going to go get the garden hose with the muffs, and we'll see if she'll pop and fire. Now, here's the pee hole here. I can actually see there's a little bit of dirt or blockage in here. There we go. Always watch for that. If you don't have dirt or you don't have water coming out when you fire it up, that could be the problem. I'm also going to watch for the water pump to be pumping. So let's I'm going to try it. I don't know, let's just roll it over and see what happens. Whoa, she fired. She's wanting to go. Probably flooded it. There we go. power is alive. I got water leaking up here for some reason. Not ideal. Might be coming around the head gasket. Maybe that's why that spark plug is wet. Push this in so I get throttle only. Ugh. Oh, the prop's spinning. Well, boys and girls, my mind is blown. This thing runs good. One problem I can see. I've got water trickling down from up here. So that might explain why there was some water. A little bit of, just a touch of rust, just the tiniest bit on that #1 spark plug. So that's why you pay attention to those type of things when you take it apart. I'm gonna pull this cover off. Looks like, I don't know how many bolts I gotta take off to get that cover off. I should be able to lift it off. It's tied to the framework here. And I want to be able to see the top of this head and see if I can see where that water's coming from. But if it's leaking to the outside, that means it could easily be leaking toward the inside. And only one cylinder is affected right now, and it's such a slight amount that's going in there, I'm pretty sure. But I can't possibly go out on the lake and put a load on it with it pulling water. I don't know what would happen. Could you hydrolock a piston if it finally let go? Could you burn a hole through a piston? What would happen? That I'm not sure. I haven't experienced that. So we're gonna get some wrenches. But I think we're gonna have to do a head gasket. Plus, in order to pull this off the boat, I think there's a lifting point up here where you can just pick it straight up. So that's another reason I need to get the cover off. Looks like some, I don't know, it's probably 10mm if it's in the 80s. Now this I could get at from the sides back here with a regular wrench, but up front here, so I'm just using an extension with a swivel for now, and because I'm gonna need it up front, I think. Never had one of these apart, folks. So you and I are learning together. But I've had some smaller Mercuries apart, and it just seems like there's a couple bolts here, or studs with nuts on them, and a couple up front, and this lid comes off. This also holds something else up there I can't see, so hopefully I can figure out how it goes back together. All I know is that was, it was up in there like that. It's loose except the front. There we go. Now we got something we can screw in here that we can lift it with, but I don't know what. Now I can see nothing more than I could see before. Looks like if I take this, and we can get this cover off, and I can see the whole head. Just wonder how much support the starter needs. Deeper and deeper I go. It's kind of nice they use all stainless hardware for these things so they don't corrode, since they're going to be involved in water. I'm also kind of lucky this is in Iowa. Pretty sure this outboard has never seen salt water. I don't see any evidence of it. There's no corrosion whatsoever. I guess some of the warmer states, you don't see the, or some of the warmer states you don't see the rust on the cars. And some of these colder states you see rust on the cars, but no corrosion on your boats. We got a ground down here. Looks like the bolts I took off from here and here, the rubber, it's just the rubber pieces, so I'll be able to put those back on. Or the nuts I took off, there's rubber grommets here. Guess this one's still stuck, yep, right here. I'll have to put those back on. I can put them on back on easier once I get this thing. This has a double ground strap. It has a ground strap over here and over here from both from the head. I think the way the starter's mounted is against the block, so I should be able to start it up without it. This just supports the back half of the housing and the back half of the hood. Yeah, it looks like where you can hook. Let me get you in here a little tighter. Looks a little more anemic with everything off, but you can see it's just an inline 6 here. But that's where you'd hook your hook for your rope and wrap it around underneath here to give it a pull. And I think you can pull start this thing. The way that thing started off and popped off and ran, which we're going to do here again in a second here, because I want to see if I can see where the water leak is coming from. I think it's coming around the spark plug. But it's all dried up now, so we'll have to fire it up again and see. Water, maestro. We got water. You guys saw me poking at this hole here. I just used a piece of welding wire, and I had to poke at it several times. And that water line comes straight up from up here on top of the head. So that means you're getting water all the way up here when it's coming out down here. And you saw me touching this a bunch. Right now it's way hotter than when I was running it because the water, it's had time to cool, or the water soaked, the heat soaked into it after the water quit moving through it and heated up the water. But I think we're not gonna do any choke. I think we're just gonna hit it. And let's see if she'll go for me. And let's see if we can see where that water's coming from. None of this should fall off. Famous last words. I didn't want to run it any longer than that now that I can see what's going on. The water's pouring out right around this spark plug hole big time. So the spark plug hole is good, but the gasket, there's what would be there? Why would it be leaking so bad there? Is there a crack, you think? Good question. Well, the only reason it could leak around the spark plug hole is if the gasket's leaking and there's water getting in there, and I don't know. I don't know how this is chambered in here, so. Guess what, boys and girls? Head's coming off. I ain't scared, let's get after it. Now we gotta remember these ground straps are right here. Looks like it's all 7/16. Yep. Oh, they're not very tight. But there again, if it's leaking, you're not going to just tighten it up and make it go away. Yeah, these aren't what I would call tight. Another thing that's different is this here bolt is not like the others for some reason. And maybe that's why it was parked a long time ago before somebody wrecked it. You know, or maybe it just deteriorated from sitting. You know, that could easily happen. Tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and yank all the spark plugs back out now too, just so I don't break them off while I'm dilly-dallying around here. The other thing I'm concerned about is, now the water pump is gonna be old in this boat, period. Even if it hasn't, it had a new water pump before it was put away in 2016 or 2013, depending on what the case may be. The rubber is still, you know, 7 years old and been in a curled up fashion. It pumped a lot of water. So I can't complain about that. Now what's funny is these 4 bolts are not like the others. Now the good, bad, or otherwise on this project is I have more of this project to do when it comes to the Evinrude boat. You know, taking that, seeing if that motor will actually pop off, or if I can get it to bark a little bit before I take it off. And I got to get some parts. I'm probably gonna have to get. I definitely gonna have to get a head gasket. I'll probably order a water pump kit for it, and I need a lifting hook. Something tells me I'd bought one at one time, but I haven't seen it. Pretty sure I don't have one. If I know what thread that is, I could actually make that on a lathe. Now your Mercury experts will have to tell me this, because the upper bolts up here, there's one of this color, stainless. One that I just took out that was second from the bottom here, had a head with a star washer on it. And the rest of these were Mercury black. I tend to believe the Mercury black ones were the OGs. And something else has gone on down here. Well, we got to hear it run. That was inspirational. If we fix this water leak, I think we got it. Carbs seem to be fine. It idles fine. What I'll do is I will put a little sea foam in my fuel, and it'll help clean out any other little residue that may be there. And she's popping apart pretty easy. Aha. So the water jacket does come around here and around here. So that's why I could easily leak right around there. Aha. The other thing I think is, nope, doesn't look broken. No, there's no place for it there. I thought maybe a head bolt could go there. She's clean behind here. Well, the good news is that's where she was leaking. The gasket's all dry cracked. It needed replaced. You can see the bulging here, or water's running in and out where it probably shouldn't. Well, good. I don't think I have a cracked head. Now when I say head, there's not much to a head on this. It's just a cover for the water jacket, and that's it. The good news is I can put the spark plugs back in here and protect it. The nice thing is that gasket wasn't scary at all. I'm excited about that. Now it probably cost me $400 for a gasket. You wait and see. I like the starter here. It says, do not strike with hard objects. And you see people all the time beating on starters when they're not acting quite right. Now we're not going to torque these so the water runs out. We're just going to give them a little snug. Keep them cylinders fresh. We got some good old Amsoil 2-stroke running through it now. It's loving life. I'll go ahead and put the plug wires back on it too. Just so no critters build any nest up in my plug caps. Then we'll be able to come out here and scrape all this off, get it good and clean. And once I get the water leak fixed, bam, and I'm gonna give me a lift, water leak, and water pump. Or water leak. Give me a water gasket, lift hook, head gasket, water pump. So when we transfer this to the other boat, ba-boom. I'm gonna go gather up all my nuts and bolts and whatnot here and put them in a tote. I have totes for that. And that's exciting. Might as well leave all this off while I'm lifting it up. No sense in, I can put the head cover back on, but actually I'll probably put the head cover back on, run it again, just as is, and then make sure we're not leaking, and then we'll pull it. All depends on what we got going on, because the next thing we got to do is play around with that V490S Evinrude. See if we can get it to bark. There again, I'm not going to let it run for long periods of time like I did this. I just want to make sure this one's doing what it's supposed to do, and it does. It does it very well. And we'll get the cover back over this. Keep the elements off of it till I get parts. Folks, I'm going to wrap it up on this video. It's gone on long enough. Thank you for staying this long. Some of you have asked, hey, where do you get those Hawaiian shirts? I'll put a link down below. I buy all these Hawaiian shirts come off of Amazon, believe it or not, and they're the Alvish brand, A-L-V-I-S-H brand. I'll leave a link to one of the Alvish ones like I wear. The cool part about these links, if you take that link and go shop for anything else, you don't even have to buy a shirt. You could go buy a pack of gum, and I'll get a 3% commission because I drove you to the website. That helps out the channel a lot. Helps me afford a head gasket maybe, and some other componentries that I'm going to need to get this project, keep it moving forward. All right. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here today, folks. I'm still pumped up. A little water leak, not a cracked head, bad gasket. It's a 1983. I will confirm that, but we got a 30-year-old outboard that still runs like the day she came off the showroom floor. And wow, 6-cylinder. All right, this is Michael saying if it ain't broke, fix it till it is, and we'll see you on the next video. Be good to one another, and I'm out.